The game time temperature will be a full 10% higher in Chicago tonight than it was last night. Will that be enough to thaw the Rangers' bats? We talk about it next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Yeah, look at that. Frost bats. That's the genius of the prophet over there. I love that Joe already noticed. He even knows our vernacular. He knew that's called the thumbnail. And the thumbnail would even be frozen in the weather that the Rangers were playing in last night. The bats certainly were frosty, if not worse. And we welcome you into the DLLS Sports Studios. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan, Jeff Wilson, the prophet with his genius plays on words and the pictures as well. So anyway, we're glad you're here. Keep the chat coming. Like us, subscribe to us. We've got a piece of pizza each sitting here. You know what that's for? Celebration.
20,000.
They gave us, I think it was 10 boxes of pizza up there, Jeff. 10 boxes they brought. I wish you were all here. You could share the pizza with us. But we're celebrating. We hit 20,000 yesterday, thanks to you, thanks to our show. And, yeah, look at there. We're going towards 30. You're damn right, Joe. We may get to 30 today. We'll have pizza again for lunch tomorrow, Joe.
Well, I'm counting on some leftovers, honestly.
Yeah. There probably will be some.
Yeah.
I got a fridge up there, so they'll stick them in the fridge. And, of course, if it was Chicago, they wouldn't need to put them in the damn fridge. They would just be, sitting out in the press box somewhere because it's so cold. And by the way, those old stadiums that are like total cement and steel, they're the coldest. I mean, any stadium is a lot of cement and steel, obviously. But the old ones, somehow, Old Tiger Stadium, man, when I'd go there and it was 32 degrees on opening day or any of those, they're so cold, not only for the players, but for the fans. And last night's game, was cold from start to finish. It was 30-something at game time, I think 32, but the wind was blowing. There was gale force warnings, Jeff, and the wind chill temperature was down into the lower to middle 20s for that game.
Yeah, it's not really baseball weather.
No.
And you can say that, but, both teams had to play in it. And
Sure.
The Cubs handled it better, but I think it definitely affected Nathan Eovaldi. You saw him after every pitch blowing on his hands, trying to rub up the baseball, just try to get a feel for his pitches. I mean, some of these pitches that he threw were so uncharacteristically wild. The ones that hit the batters, you never see him do that.
Right.
And so and then he walked a couple guys. So, but again, steal for the Cubs was very, very good. So, as it turned out, geez, it's not good. It's getting very minimally warmer. It's supposed to rain tomorrow.
No, so I said 10% higher. That's 3.5 degrees. Man, that's all. It's going to be 35.5 at game time today. So that's all you get. That's all you get.
It's just a miserable series.
Yeah,
and so they got to, as Bruce Bochy said it last night, they got to adapt. They got to be able to respond and do the things that they're supposed to do. In these cold elements. So I don't know, John. I mean, I felt bad for him.
Yeah,
I felt bad for both guys.
Yeah,
both teams.
I did too. And one of the things that Eovaldi said after the game, where he felt really bad, was that the guys behind him, the guys playing defense, were just standing around, and he was, messing around like he usually doesn't, and hitting guys and walking guys and those types of things. They weren't quick innings. So when you're just standing around in the outfield or even the infield, not doing much, you get even colder.
Right, and stiffer, and want to get the hell out of there sooner. And the Rangers hitters, I'm not saying they weren't trying, but some quick outs there at the end.
Yeah,
and I think they're ready to go ahead and get that one over with and get some heat.
Get back to the warm hotel. Bruce Bochy, of course, one of the things we love about him is he's seen it all, he's done it all. And he's literally, from a player all the way through his managerial career, experienced it all. So to him, last night, hell, that was nothing. Let's hear from both.
Well, first of all, you're right. We've all played a lot of games in this kind of weather. But I think back to Calgary, Edmonton, how cold it was. One game, it was 15, I think, in Calgary. We had to play it. Rochester had to wait for him to sweep the snow off the field. It's tough. There's no getting around it. But hey, it's part of what you have to deal with. The elements, you can't let it get to you. These are important games, and so that's kind of the message with the players. Hey, it's going to be a little chilly, but hey, both teams got to play with it. And again, these stats count, the wins and losses count, and let's get after it.
Are there any tricks or anything special that you've done in the past to try to stay as warm as possible?
Well, I'll tell you the worst trick I've ever tried, and I owe it to Tim Flannery. He said, we're playing at Candlestick. He said, hey, I'm telling you, you put Vaseline all over you, it'll keep you warm. Well, that's if you go in the water, I guess. It's supposed to help there, but I've never been so cold in my life. It was just like I had water all over me for 9 innings. At Candlestick, your dugout was on the third base side. The clubhouse was all the way down the right field line, so it's not like I could go in there and get it off or anything. And man, I was miserable that night and had a good time with them. I got them in a pretty good headlock after that.
Nothing like a good headlock from Boch. Big man, Boch.
Yeah, that's like a vice grip.
Yeah, it's a vice grip. I just love it. Boch has seen it. He's done it. He's experienced it. And I certainly know that's one of the reasons his credibility is just so awesome in that clubhouse, right? He's been there before. He's experienced what each and every one of these guys are experiencing. And look, you just get through it. They've got to get through it again today. They may not have to get through it tomorrow, Jeff, if that rain actually does materialize. And I don't know that you hope for that, but you kind of hope for that, right?
Well,
rain the damn thing out.
Maybe, but then when do you make it up? And then
right.
I think both teams are off Thursday, so they could have a mutual off day. Just postpone it to Thursday. Get your off day on Wednesday instead. So it's just a bad situation. And again, it comes back to why does MLB play these games in April? You got to be fair to the fan bases, I guess. And then you don't want a team that, potentially could be a contender playing 3 straight weeks at home to end the season. So you just kind of have to grin and bear it, kind of like Boch was saying. And it's not any fun. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to be 75 and sunny in Seattle this weekend.
No.
It's going to be chilly there. The players are going to be wearing the damn face mask there, too. I mean, it has a chance to be just the coldest road trip in Rangers history, maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
it could be.
This is unpleasant, but, you saw the A's had to play in a snowstorm for the Rockies opener last week. It's not like this is the Rangers and the Cubs are the only teams who have had to deal with these things. The Yankees and Tigers are playing in really chilly conditions.
Yeah, and it was snowing during their game yesterday. I had it on MLB Network for a while I was home, and it was literally, they're showing shots of the Tiger, out on the outside of the stadium with snow just swirling around it. So
yeah, and I think I saw a tweet today from one of the Yankees beat writers, Eric Borland, who showed up to the ballpark, and of course we get there so early before games, but he tweeted out a picture. He said, it may look nice, but right now it feels like it's 15 degrees.
Oh, God, that's awful.
Yeah.
That's awful. So, yeah, they're not the only ones dealing with it. There's no doubt. And interestingly, nobody had that, severe cold for opening day. But look, it's early April in that part of the country. You can get this kind of weather. You can get this kind of weather in early May. occasionally in that part of the country. So fingers crossed. Maybe it'll be, if they do have to postpone tomorrow and play Thursday, maybe it'll be like 10% warmer again.
Hey,
all the way up to like 36
progress,
or 38.
progress.
Yeah. So, but it did have an effect, as we said. Nathan Eovaldi didn't pitch like he normally pitches. The bats were very silent, although we've had several games like that. So I'm not sure you can necessarily blame the cold for that. Tonight, they're playing in the cold again, but they're playing it in a different way because Josh Young will be back. Although, with a stiff neck, is this the best weather in which to bring Josh Young back?
Maybe not, but I think that's kind of the plan. And he's been working. I've seen him walking around with heating pads. It's loosened up enough. It was good enough for him to go play in Frisco.
Yeah,
and no complaints came from those games. So I would be very surprised if he wasn't at least activated. You don't have to necessarily start him.
True.
Maybe you could pinch hit him late in the game or something like that. But I would expect him to be in the lineup today. So then what happens with Josh Smith? Well, Boch's intent to find spots for him to play. So maybe somebody gets their first day off of the year. Maybe Marcus Semien gets a day off.
Yeah.
He could use one. They could all use one. Jake Berger. Josh Smith played the heck out of first base in spring training. He really was pretty good over there. So there are a lot of opportunities to get Smith in the lineup, and it's going to happen. I think you're going to see this guy. If the Rangers play 6 games in a week, he's going to play in 5 of them. I think they're that committed to seeing what he can provide. It was good last year. It looks like it's going to be good this year through 11 games, and so that'll be interesting to see how he moves around, how he's able to hold up. I mean, playing shortstop one day, then third base, then left field, and it can kind of grind on a guy. So, but he's young. He's got a good mindset. He recognizes that this is my chance to play. I'm going to do whatever I can.
Yeah, and he was on base again yesterday, although had the dubious distinction of being the first Rangers base stealer who was thrown out. They were 14 for their first 14, Jeff.
Well, these opponents are just, they've got it. I don't think anyone's been thrown out, right? The opposing base runners.
No, that's right. Yeah,
I mean it was crazy last night. That was a damn track meet, and it was like, Eovaldi talked about it after the game, saying I've got to be better than that. But it seems like, and Bruce Bochy had said this Sunday, sometimes these guys just want to focus on making their pitches, and it's okay to have a base stolen. And if Eovaldi was struggling with his command in the field, then maybe that's what he was doing. And they were just like, all right, don't worry about the stolen bases. But at the same time, it's an ongoing problem. I mean, there were no weather concerns over the weekend at Globe Life Field.
Nope.
And the Rays were, looked like the 4x100 Jamaica sprint team. So they gotta clean that up. 100%. Every single one of them needs to clean that up.
Yep, they know they do. Once again, remember, don't blame the catcher. It's generally on the pitcher. Nathan Eovaldi, took the blame last night and said, I got to give Higgy a chance, right? And because right now, the catchers just don't have a chance. The jumps are so good because the times to the plate are so slow.
Yeah.
And that's the change that needs to be made. They need to get quicker to the plate. They know it. In a game like last night, I think that adjustment is hard to make. And in fact, Eovaldi was, and again, it's infinitesimal, but it's enough. He was, 0.2 to 0.5, 0.2 to 0.5 of a second slower to the plate than normal.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's when you see Jonah Heim stealing bases, right? I mean,
yep, that's right.
That pitcher the other day for the Rays who let that happen. That should be like a $500 fine. And so anybody can do it. These are major leaguers. They scout, they study. They got the first base coach with the stopwatch. And if you're not mixing up your holds or giving a glance back to second base, anything to affect their timing, then you're just not giving the catcher any chance at all.
No, and they need to give the catcher a chance. All right, we come back. Let's talk about tonight's starting pitcher. let's take you to a warmer place in the recent Rangers history. And how about Evan Carter? We'll talk about him too. It's all next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast.
Well, John, I'd close my Notion window. So if I'm up, why don't you go?
Okay, I'll do a timeline.
Perfect.
And that is a great supplement. And you need to avail yourself to it. No matter your age, it will help you, because what happens as we get older, those little building blocks of our body, those are cells, they deteriorate and they become less effective. And the reason they do is because of, and this is just so terrible, dysfunctional mitochondria.
Oh, God.
Can you imagine? Dysfunctional mitochondria is the root of all evil with those cells. Well, guess what? MitoPure helps eradicate dysfunctional mitochondria. It's a patented item. And by the way, Timeline has 1 million patents. I'm obviously exaggerating on 1 million, but they got 16, 18 patents on all their great supplements. So Timeline.com with the code DLLS and get started with Timeline today.
You know what? We talked about it yesterday. I have a feeling we're going to talk about it all week. It's the American Rodeo coming to Globe Life Field Friday and Saturday for a 2-day rodeo spectacular. Probably the richest purse in rodeo, $3 million up for grabs, with top guys and gals as well as the rising stars of the sport. Haley Kinsel, Stetson Wright, Jackie Crawford, Casey Field, all world champions, all back at Globe Life Field with a bunch of money on the line. So come for the rodeo, stay for the party. There's some music acts, Bailey Zimmerman, Riley Green, and Ella Langley. Tickets are going fast. So it's back-to-back nights of unmatched competition at the American Rodeo. Friday's the qualifying round where dreams are made or broken. Then Saturday, it's the championship round where the best of the best go head-to-head for the ultimate title. One weekend, 2 unforgettable nights in Arlington, Texas.
It's the American Rodeo, baby. And say hi to Cade Saunier when you're there. He's a former baseball player, as you'll see if you see the interview I did with him. Watch for it on social media. Cade was a pretty good baseball player. Played in college. Played at Nicholls State. Looked like he was going to get drafted. Blew out his elbow. That happens. And decided to go into rodeo, which was his dad's thing. So anyway, it's cool because to see. And he made a distinction. This is kind of controversial, I think. Made the distinction between athletes and cowboys. And Jeff, he's an athlete. He played football, basketball, baseball, and then went to rodeo. And he's proud of the fact that he's an athlete, and he thinks more and more athletes are getting into rodeo, not just cowboys. So,
well,
yeah,
to lift a cow, you have to be pretty strong,
no doubt.
And to have the reflexes and the hand-eye coordination to throw a rope around a cow's neck, that's something else.
Yeah.
And to have the strength, whether it be in your core or your legs, to hang on a bronc,
right?
That ain't easy.
I'm certainly not trying to crap on cowboys, but I don't know. I really don't know if that's what Cade is trying to do, but go decide for yourself. Find that interview over there on our social media channels. In the meantime, we'll take you back to a warm place this weekend. It was sunny. It was warm. Actually, it was freezing outside, but it was 72 degrees inside Globe Life Field when the Rangers hit that walk-off. It was Jonah Heim who hit it, and we meant to show this yesterday and forgot. So I want to show it today in case you didn't see it. Jonah tweeted this out and said, "This is everything."
With a punctuation mark.
Yeah, look at there. Jonah's kids coming up after he hit that walk-off. And I think that was actually right after we call it a walk-off interview, right after his walk-off interview with Laura Stickles. And the kids were kind of waiting. I saw him during the interview kind of look over and wave, and the kids were waiting over there on the side. And I love it, but it's so true. It's like, this was cool. This is what I do. This is my job. But when those kids come running over there and they're excited to see you, that's the greatest.
Yeah, Nash is the redheaded boy. He's the oldest. He's only 4.
Yeah.
Lux is the girl, and she's 3, I think. And then they had Champ last season.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure they're going to let Champ.
Yeah,
Champ is able to actually walk out on the
Yeah,
field.
maybe not. I don't think.
But then Jonah brought Nash into the media room and just like sat him in the corner, and Nash wasn't sure about that. And I said, Jonah, why don't you just take him up there with you?
Yeah.
You know? And so he did. And then Abby sent that tweet out. And anyway, yeah, they were very visible during spring training at all the games. And they would yell, hey, where's Daddy? And Daddy. And
yeah,
he'd acknowledge them back. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great. Human beings, man, that's what these guys are, just human beings trying to figure out how to play a game. Human beings, as you know, get cold. I mean, I think it was 50, and we were whining like we were here in Texas on Sunday. I mentioned the hockey boys were upstairs, it's way colder than this in Maine, and we're like, yeah, well, we're not in Maine. So, but in any event, it's fun to see. It's fun to see that type of thing. Now, fun to see, or will it be? Jeff's going to throw water on this. Fun to see Patrick Corbin take the mound tonight and see what he's got, right?
Yeah, I mean it'll be interesting. I think everybody needs to go in there holding their breath and with low expectations. I'm not going to lie, but you also have seen what Rangers scouts, pro scouts have uncovered with the bullpen. Guys like Kobe Milner, Sean Armstrong, and Luke Jackson, who didn't have great years last year, and they are doing well because of things that the scouts saw and thought that these players could capitalize on if shifted in the right direction. And it seemed like Corbin, with the changes he made last year with using his cutter more, and it was better. So they hope that they can drive that home, that he can continue on that path. He gave up. Here we go. The last 5 seasons, he has led the league in most hits allowed. Okay, so that's not good. 3 times most runs allowed, also not good. 3 times most losses, not good.
No.
Now, but what that indicates is that he's on the mound a lot.
Yeah.
That
is good.
That is good.
Yeah.
And the Rangers need that. They need a guy, because they do have questions still as guys are building up or coming back from injuries. Whatever it may be, they still need somebody who can go out there and eat some innings.
Sure.
All right. And he's done that more than anybody in baseball since 2016. This guy is durable. He's healthy. His velocity is up to 93. If it's cold, maybe it's an advantage for him. So we'll see. All right.
Yeah. So about the scouting aspect of this thing, like, if the scouts were really high on him, he would have, he signed in an almost emergency situation, right?
Yeah.
So that makes that different. But on the upside, the opposite side of that coin is the Rangers also have very good, we give Mike Maddox so much credit, and he deserves it, but it's a whole staff that works with the pitchers, right? There's pitching coaches, there's Maddox and his guys. And, maybe they unlock something with this. Mike seems to be able to do that. He's the pitcher whisperer.
Ideally, Corbin would have been in camp to start.
True.
But at that time, Cody Bradford and John Gray were healthy, and the Rangers felt good about their depth. And all of a sudden, you lose two guys who are in the rotation. I don't think there's any doubt about it. John Gray and Cody Bradford were going to be in the starting rotation to open the season.
Of course.
So you need depth, and it cost you a major league deal with Corbin. Okay, so you lose the 40-man spot there, but it's a guy who was hanging around, and the Rangers really did want a left-hander for that spot. They want a different look, and it's a different look. So I'm gonna try to go in as optimistic as I can, and hope for the best. But he seems like a heck of a nice guy, and he feels good about where he's at. And as you mentioned yesterday when we were talking to him opening week, he was like, it's really neat to be in here with a team that has a chance.
Yes.
And so I think that's another pick me up. And he saw last night, and he knows, hey, these guys need me.
Yeah.
So maybe that doesn't. Maybe that is another kick in the shorts for him to get him going.
Yeah, no doubt. And when you start 8-2, and then you lose one, you're 8-3. But look, the goal every series is to win the series. So in order to win the series now, they need to win the next 2. And no matter what the weather is, no matter if there are rain delays, no matter what, and to win the next 2, the first step in that is for Patrick Corbin to go out and have a good game, right? And to have a good start. And again, the Rangers proved, last week they can win 1-0 games if they have to. So you shut them down, you shut the Cubs down. Next thing you know, you might have an opportunity to sneak one out. The Rangers have been so good in 1-run games, and that's a telling stat. Not always the most telling, as we learned in 15.
Yeah,
but it's a telling stat.
Well, and the Rangers, their run differential is negative, because it's skewed by the big loss at Cincinnati and then yesterday. And then they don't have a win. They haven't won by more than 3 runs in any of their games. So, but would you rather be, 6-6 with a positive run differential, or would you rather be 8-3 with a negative run differential?
I'll take the negative.
The choice is pretty
easy.
clear. Yeah.
Still the most wins in the American League, and by 2. The others, the nearest in the American League have 6 to the Rangers. And, of course, only the Padres and the Dodgers have more wins than the Rangers. Each of them are at 9 wins on the season. So, still unequivocally a good start for the Rangers. Evan Carter is at least now, I think, maybe officially, Jeff, making progress. When he first got down to the minor leagues, there was, and not that he's making a ton, but he's moving in the right direction right now. He took a couple days off this past week. I think there was some personal stuff going on, though,
yes,
right?
He tended to an appointment that he had. The Rangers knew about it. He left the team, and that's what it was. There was nothing, no controversy there, or no conspiracies like they took him out of action like had happened with Jack Leiter a couple of years ago. No, this was something that was, I don't know if it was pre-planned, or how far in advance it was pre-planned, but it's nothing the Rangers were concerned about or stood in the way of. So he came back, played Sunday, 3 walks and a hit. And the thing that a scout told me is that Evan Carter still has the strike zone judgment. He's still a smart hitter. And so he has that foundation. And when you have that foundation, you put yourself in a great chance to be successful. So now it's just getting the body synced up, the swing synced up. And I think the best thing for Evan is he needs to realize that it doesn't have to happen overnight, and it can't happen overnight. It happens only when he gets his mind right. And let's give him that first week. Let's give him a little grace there. He was not where he wanted to be. He's probably working with coaches he hadn't worked with before, or it's been a long time. You got to scramble and find a place to live. He's got a wife and a dog, and so things that he probably was not prepared to do, he suddenly had to do. So, but now that stuff's out of the way. All right, let's now move forward, and I think Sunday was a good step forward. Now the Rangers they aren't gonna play him necessarily every day. He's gonna get some time off. They don't want to do anything to disrupt the back. And they, if he needs a little extra work one day, then he's going to get it on the side. So, and when he talked to us after it was announced that he was going to be optioned, he said, well, I want to be back here as soon as I can. My goal every day is to make it hard for them not to call me up. Well, I think that was the wrong approach. I didn't want to say it to them at the time, but that's what I felt in the moment. And if that's what the case was the last week, then maybe he has realized that, this is going to take some time. I've got good people around me. They definitely want me up there in the big leagues.
Yeah,
but they don't want it until it's right.
Yeah, but it does, especially the fact that they're going to give him some time off, causes concern. We'll continue this again, but causes a little concern for me about the back. Right? It kind of snuck up on him last year in a way. And so anyway, we'll talk more with Jeff about that momentarily. We also want to talk about the hitting. Yeah, again, I know there's not much to talk about, but there's always a lot to talk about, even when there's not very many hits. And we'll get to some questions, too. It's next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Oh, you get Empire today.
Oh, man, Empire today. They are our favorite, our absolute favorite, Chicago-based. But if you've lived in this area for a long time, you know all about Empire today. And even though they are in Chicago, and we're here in beautiful DFW, they want to make sure that you guys have the home field advantage, just like all teams want the home field advantage in the playoffs. So they want you to have your field or your flooring in immaculate shape, and they're going to do whatever they can to make sure you can do it and as easy as possible from home. But you need to schedule them. Come into your house. They can help you choose the colors, make sure it matches your furniture, looks good in the right light, all of that stuff. And you can barely see our floors here. They're durable because, believe me, we try to beat the hell out of them with all this equipment we've got. And they're just fantastic. And they're still offering $350 off new floors when you use the code DLLS. So EmpireToday.com/DLLS.
Yeah, I'd love to see what Monarch Money could do with that $350 too. They could I promise you, they could take that $350 and they could turn it into a lot more. Monarch Money is a great site. They're not just a budget site, right? A place that helps you sort of, put your spending in the right categories. They do so much more than that. Monarch Money is like your personal CFO. They have advice for you. They know what you should be doing with your money. They don't just want to manage your money. They want to grow it. They want to see your money grow. So like I say, that $350, goodness knows, could go a lot longer and a lot further. So, you should avail yourself to their great services. Monarch Money, go use the code DLLS at monarchmoney.com and get your discount today at monarchmoney.com. All right, so let us discuss the hitting. Okay, enough of that. So it right now, and everybody's worried. I get it. Like I say last night, I don't know that we can blame the weather because there've been a lot of games like this where there just weren't enough hits. So I'm not positive that's what we could blame it on in the case of last night. However, right now there are a couple of teams, Jeff, that don't have a 10-hit game. The Rangers, one of them.
Mm-hmm.
The Dodgers would be the other one.
Well, obviously they're in full panic.
Yeah. So I don't think either team really needs to panic yet. Now, again, the Rangers don't have Shohei Ohtani, who was, was he a double, I guess, away from the cycle last night. I mean, again, this guy's unfreaking believable.
Well, they still lost the game, though.
They did. That's a good point.
And look, I get it. And the worst part is it's happening at the start of the year. So where all eyes are on this team. Yeah. This is when it's magnified. If this was happening in June, all of our diehards here in the chat would understand.
Yeah.
There's some problems going on right now with the offense, but on a larger scale, the casual fan might be looking at it and be like, oh my God, they're so terrible. What can they do? And really, I don't know that they can do a lot. To be 100% honest, and the big number is 11. We're 11 games into the season.
Yep.
Okay. And yes, the numbers are atrocious, really. I mean, Seager, Simeon, that Jock Peterson guy, not good. Wyatt's okay. I thought Adolis has been okay.
Jonah's been good.
Josh Smith's been excellent. Higashioka's been okay.
Yep.
He had a couple hits yesterday. Even Tavares has done something. Pilar's done something.
Yeah, give me Pilar. Yeah,
it hasn't been sustained, right? And it hasn't been by the big guys. So maybe Josh Young infuses a little oomph into the lineup. You can hope for that. But I don't know that you need to start monkeying with the batting lineup. I know people don't like Marcus Semien as a leadoff hitter, and I'm not sure that I do either. But he is their guy right now. I don't know that it does any good to put him fifth right now, let's say, and move Josh Smith up to first.
Right.
I don't know if that serves much of a purpose right now. I think you give these veteran guys the opportunity to work through it. And like Bruce Bochy said over the weekend, he looks at the back of their baseball cards and knows that they're going to hit eventually. Now, for them all to collectively be slumping right now is a little concerning. You wonder, I didn't think they had awesome spring trainings. These guys, Adolis did, or better than expectations. Wyatt, of course, did, but it's different now. And one other thing to point out, the Rangers have played, and we talked about, really good teams.
Yeah.
And really good teams have what? Really good pitching.
Yeah.
So, I'm not saying that like Cincinnati, Brady Singer's serviceable veteran.
Right.
The guy who pitched the next night just might have had it going on. And then Hunter Green.
Yeah.
You saw what Hunter Green did last night.
He was electric last night. Yeah.
And so you go and you face the Cubs. Well, Steele was their opening day starter last year.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are,
and he's left-handed. That's and
that's still an issue. Maybe.
Yeah, that might still be a concern. They've only faced 2 lefties this year. They didn't win either one of the games. Now,
but
again,
they're good.
They played well enough to win the game against Crochet.
Right.
Yeah. Right. They scratched out enough offense to have won that game, obviously. But, last year a big problem was left-handed starters. And so far they've only seen 2 this year. So.
Well, I mean, they were all problems last year, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But so as hard as it is, as difficult as it is, you kind of have to play the waiting game here and wait on these guys to get going. There's nobody at AAA who's going to come up and save the day. I mean, Blaine Krim, who is I'm the president of his fan club. He's killing it. He's the Pacific Coast League Player of the Week
with a 1200 OPS.
Yeah. He's not. They're not going to bring him up and sit Jake Berger.
No.
Jock Peterson is making $18 million a year in the next 2 years. He's not going to be sitting. He just isn't. Not on April 8th.
Mm-mm.
He's not going to be sitting. So it's a tough spot, but you just have to trust that these guys are going to get going. Now, maybe first week of May, if it's not any better, well, then you got to start looking. You got to start looking, maybe not necessarily at the players, but then the process, getting them there, the hitting coach, just any little thing. But again, some of these guys have their own hitting coaches.
Right.
So what are we talking about here? It's a complicated situation. It's a tough situation because you do want them to score 5 runs a game, 6 runs a game.
Sure.
They're capable of doing that. But it's just, you just got to wait.
Yeah. You even though I was saying I didn't think you could blame the weather last night, you probably can't expect a breakout offensive performance tonight, right? I mean,
right.
In 35 degrees, and it's going to get colder from there. This probably isn't the night. Tomorrow's probably not the day. Hell, Seattle's a tough place for hitters anyway.
Right.
And you had the cold
staff so good.
Yeah, and then and their staff's so good. Yeah. And you had the cold weather that they're going to feel there. I mean, it may not be till they get home again that we start seeing them hit like they're capable of hitting. We do believe, though, that it'll happen. It generally does. Last year's the exception to that. But, right now they're 8-3 without hitting.
Right. And then, be thankful for that. Be thankful for the pitching. And if people are like, well, the pitching's not going to hold up. Well, guess what? The hitters aren't going to stay this way either.
No.
So there's going to be improvement. There'll probably be some decline on the pitching side, but there's going to be improvement on the offensive side, and hopefully it all cancels itself.
Yeah, it all balances out, and you end up with what this team was destined to be, which is good. I mean, the team, like everybody who was predicting that this was going to be one of the better teams, the best teams in the American League, they probably weren't wrong, right? I mean, they probably weren't wrong. There's a lot of things that are going right. Right now, offense is not one of them, but they'll work on it. That's the one thing, too. You just keep working. You keep grinding. You try not to grind too hard. They're going to be careful to make sure guys aren't grinding too hard and that guys aren't pressing, and that's a hard one to avoid, I think, when you're in a slump like this for even a Jock Peterson, Jeff, or a Marcus Semien and Corey Seager. And I will say about Semien and Seager, those guys are so detail-oriented. you could see that they don't change much, no matter what's happening results wise.
Yeah, they believe in the process and what they've done, and it's worked for them for I think a combined 23 seasons.
Yeah,
previous to this year. I mean, they haven't been great every season. Simeon had some bad years with the A's. Last year wasn't great with the Rangers. Corey Seager's first year with the Rangers, he hit below 250. Now, they did change the rule, the shift rule, which seems to have benefited him significantly. But the point is, they have their system, they have their routine. It's worked. They're not going to stray from it. They're just not. And so it is frustrating to see it. I get it. You put yourself Corey Seager the other day, and it was it was before the Langford home run. Runner at third, 1 out. Boy, Corey Seager needs to put that ball in play. I don't care how hard the pitcher's throwing, and if it's a left-hander, you expect Corey Seager to get that run home, and he didn't. But the good news is he had a pretty good hitter behind him who picked him up and delivered with a timely hit.
Yeah.
So that there kind of tells you something too. The Rangers lineup is that deep that theoretically, if one guy who you expect to deliver doesn't, the next guy behind him's got a pretty good chance to do it too. So again, I understand the frustrations. It's not fun baseball to watch. It does go quick, so you're not watching as much of it.
Yeah.
But you just got to give it time, and that's a crappy answer, I know, but that's just the way this team is structured, the way the contracts are. These guys aren't going anywhere. They're the ones who are going to stay here, and honestly, if it stays like that, I would imagine that they would make a change with the hitting coach.
Yeah.
Because you can't get rid of 9 hitters.
Nope.
But you can get rid of 1 hitting coach.
Yep. It's definitely, it's the truth of sports. I mean, just like, you can't fire the team, you fire the manager. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen, and there's no reason for that to happen. But if they don't hit, there might become a reason, and we hope not. We absolutely hope not. We hope they do hit. Jeff, let's look at some of the questions or comment on some of the comments we see from our chat.
All right. Joe's doing a pretty good job of knocking down a lot of these questions. Rarities. Luke Jackson's introduction to the game gives me goosebumps at the stadium. Well, it's interesting because it's like a prayer by Madonna, but it's kind of like what do they call it? A remix?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And it's an interesting one. And, Jake Berger's lock-up music is Edge of 17.
Oh, wow.
Which is a catchy tune.
Yeah.
But you don't hear a lot of guys these days going into the Stevie Nicks
era. Yeah. Yeah.
And getting there. But there are a lot of, there's a couple of, 2 or 3, God damn it. Why can't I think of it? The Freebird.
Oh, yeah, from Leonard Skinner.
Yeah, Leonard Skinner. Simple Man. There's another one too, and so kind of some Southern rock, 70s Southern rock in there.
Yeah. I remember when Will Smith was here, and he would use Ted Nugent.
Oh, really?
It was great, man. Boo and I are up there. Oh my God, he comes into Ted Nugent. So yeah, it was great. Yeah, I love it when and most of them got it from their dad. Right?
Yeah.
I asked Will about it. He said, "Oh yeah, my dad loved this song, man. He jammed to this all the time,
Yeah.
So,
well, if Henry ever makes it, he wants to do a dedication to me, it'll be a Waylon Jennings song.
Okay.
And he's heard them all. So
yeah. Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. If Josh Smith is going to be the shortstop or second baseman today, neither give Simeon or Seager the day off if Young is playing today. Is Young? That's definitely possible. I wouldn't be surprised if Corey Seager got the day off today. He played 4 in a row. Still no word on the calf. But cold weather and nagging injuries are often a dangerous combination.
Yeah, for a already stiff muscle, right?
Yeah. And I still, and if they really believe that tomorrow is going to get washed out, then maybe this is a way to sit him, and he would get 3 days off, unless they played Thursday. But theoretically, he could get 3 days off. Today, the rain out, and then the travel day, if they don't decide to play on the mutual off day. It's such a pain in the butt to have to go back to a city for one day.
It is.
I don't think that they would want to do that. I think they would go ahead and try to play the game Thursday if the Cubs are able to do it too.
Yeah, because I don't think they're in Milwaukee today or this year. And if they are, they probably don't have a day. Both teams don't have a day off before the Rangers,
right.
as it happened in whatever that was.
Yeah, those mutual off
15
days can be hard to find.
Yeah,
too.
they're not easy they don't match up very often. So anyway, more coming as we get to our cleanup segment. Lots to talk about there, including a couple of Astros, or should I say former Astros, who are making their team regret what they've done next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And it is. That is it.
I do have the new shirt on.
Yeah.
The issue here, there's no issue with. There's no issue with the shirt.
Yeah, it's just that the big numbers on the back.
The design is on the back, and I before the show was trying to get it into the camera, and my body wasn't cooperating because I worked out this morning and I'm a little stiff. But it's the one that says it's baseball time in Texas. And you guys just have to trust me. It's a pretty awesome shirt.
Yeah.
I guess we could try. Is that my camera right there?
This one here. Yeah. He's giving it a shot here. It's the baseball time in Texas shirt. And here we go. Jeff making the move. And let's see what he does. Oh, God, those knees are cracking. Oh, man. That's it. Okay, well, man, we need a little Mitopure for those joints, don't we? Holy crap. That mitochondria is going, I'm dysfunctioning.
How are those sound effects?
Yeah, they were. Yeah. I wish that was the prophet playing a drop over there and not your knee cracking. But anyway, the shirt is great, as is mine. The horseshoe one. I'm a big fan of this one. Shows the skyline of Dallas. So anyway, we like all their shirts. We like all the merch. And we want you to become a diehard to get some. You get a free one if you become a diehard. So do that and go behind the paywall and get all the stuff that Jeff writes, all the stuff that Clarence Hill and Joe Hoyt write, all the stuff that Sam Nestler writes, all the stuff that Tim Cato writes. It's amazing, all the things that are available to you, plus 20% off all of our events that we have. We had the event last night down there at Happiest Hour, and we want to thank the people at Happiest Hour. We had a great time over there with that national championship game, except for the outcome. Most of us there were rooting for Kelvin Sampson and the Houston Cougars. But there were some Florida folks in the house, and, happy for them. We had giveaways there. We had good food and a good time. So anyway, that's what diehards get. You should become one today. All right?
What did you? I know you stayed for the first half. Did you catch the end of the game last night?
I was not there for it, but I did catch it. That was heartbreaking. You don't see a college basketball player of that level just like lose the ball.
But he understood that he couldn't pick it up.
Oh yeah.
But the problem with that I had with the game, and I didn't really have a dog in the hunt, so I would have liked to have seen Houston win. I think, but. The referees really affected the outcome of the game. Not one call on either side, but at one point, Florida had committed 7 fouls to Houston's 1. Houston was shooting free throws in the bonus at 14:02 to go.
Wow.
The next 9 fouls were on Houston.
Wow.
That's outrageous.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, but there were so many whistles that neither team could get into a rhythm. You saw a lot of bad shooting. It's all the refs. They decided to change the way they called the game. The first half was entirely different. Florida had like 4 fouls in the first half. And so then all of a sudden they have 7 in the first 6 minutes of the game. Something changed.
Yeah.
Then they had a technical. And you don't want to call it technical in a goddamn national championship game, pardon my language. And on the coach, on the bench, on a call at the other end of the floor. So your ears are working overtime if you're the ref. And if it's if it's the ref I think that called it, I saw him call a technical foul in a charity game between TCU and
Athletes in Action or something.
Paul Quinn College.
Oh yeah.
He called a technical foul in a charity game. All right, so you don't this guy just, if it's him, then he had the ears going. You know. I just really thought that the refs affected the flow of the game, which then ultimately affected, the outcome.
Yeah.
So
No, we don't want the refs to be a part of the outcome. It was a heartbreaking end to that game, especially if you were rooting for Houston and rooting for Kelvin Sampson as I was. But you know what? It's not like Florida, their guy came through in the end. I mean, Houston shut him down throughout the whole game.
Clayton?
Yeah.
Yeah, that play out of the timeout was great. But that, again, that's the one time you could control the flow because you could set up the play. You didn't have to worry about a ref calling a foul. The foul that they called on Cryer when the Richards, Cryer, I guess, stepped on his foot. But that's kind of that should have been a foul.
Yeah,
but
that's play on.
And they missed a goaltending in the first half. Okay, that's fine. But I thought that would have been reviewable also. But maybe not. Whatever.
Yeah. Houston got the benefit of a good call on Duke against Duke in their comeback. So, what goes around comes around sometimes. And anyway, too bad for Houston. Because they lost both those championship games with Phi Slamma Jamma. God, they had Clyde Drexler and Akeem Olajuwon on the same team. How they lost 2 years in a row in the finals is so hard to imagine. But they did, and so but in part because of that, I was rooting so hard for them to get a victory last night. Not meant to be. Let's get back to baseball, if you will, and let's talk about the fact that Francisco Lindor got to his 1,500th hit yesterday.
Wow.
He's halfway to 3,000, Lindor.
Is he even 30?
I don't think so. You can look him up. I think it seems like he's a baby, and I know. I mean, he's
baby-faced.
Yeah, he's baby-faced for sure. And it seems like he's one of these guys that's sort of still getting his his hair wet in the league, and next thing you know, he's got 1,500 hits.
He is 31.
Okay.
So. Elvis Andrus got to 1,500 really quickly.
He did.
There are a lot of people who are like, this guy's got a chance at 3,000.
Yeah,
and he did.
Yes,
he did.
He did.
Not sure where that got off the rails.
Yeah,
I'm sure Elvis has the thoughts though. I think he's become a more reflective guy here in his retirement and the way his season ended. Elvis was debuted at 19, was a young guy and a good-looking kid and single, and I'm sure he liked to go out and have fun.
He did.
And did he do it too much? I wonder if he would admit to that now. But it looks like he's enjoying the 2 times he's been on the television with Jared on the pre and post game show. I think he'd be a good example to put around young players, especially like the team at Hickory this year. They have guys who are from the Dominican and Venezuela and are young and have the world in front of them. Not like Elvis did. Not as highly touted as he is, but I'm guessing those guys, especially the ones from Venezuela, would probably listen to every and hang on every word Elvis had to say.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So, and again, that's a great, reason to ask the question, does Lindor have 3,000 in him? I mean, Elvis had 1,500 in him and he didn't have 3,000 in him. So, does Lindor, I saw on MLB Network, Mark DeRosa, former Ranger, was saying this morning, I'll tell you what I see when I look at Lindor. I see a Hall of Famer, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's Mark's opinion on that. And certainly if he gets to 3,000 hits, that's going to happen. But in any event, it's been a quick rise, I think, to 1,500. And let's see though, the last 1,500 is the hard part, Jeff.
Yeah, you kind of think about the landscape right now. I mean, Juan Soto's probably got to be the guy who's has a great chance because he's 26.
Yeah,
right. Let's see, he doesn't have 1,000 hits yet, but he's only 26.
Yeah,
I mean, at 36, he could. Yeah, he's got a shot.
Yeah,
he's got a shot at it. You'd think Acuna, but he's missed 2 years because of injury.
Yeah.
Another guy who debuted when he was young. So that's interesting. It's maybe, and again though, what's he going to do at the end of his contract?
You mean Lindor
or either one of them? They both signed long deals. They're set up forever. They don't need to keep playing.
Right.
They don't need the money. Are they going to be content with what they want
Can they motivate themselves?
I mean, they're probably already going to be Hall of Famers. Do they want to keep going just to chase a number?
Yeah.
Not
And
sure.
again, hopefully they do, because, like we saw that happen here with Adrian Beltre, right? And that's not the only thing he was chasing. And that's not the only reason he was playing. But, man, it was a joy to see. Not only 3,000 itself, but the process, the chase, and just the joy that Adrian Beltre was bringing to the game at that time.
Yeah, and he really heated it up that last week because some of us were in Cooperstown for Pudge.
I was.
Yeah. And we were like, oh, no, we'll be able to get back and see it. And then same day, like 20 minutes apart. Yeah. And so, and then the next day, Yu Darvish got traded. So
I was going back.
Or was it the next
flying back?
day?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So that was a very interesting time with the Rangers. But you're right. 3,000 hits is just,
it's a lot.
It is.
The last 15.
You got to play a long time.
Yeah.
You got to love the game.
Yeah. Okay. How about what the Astros are feeling right now? They decided to let the American League and the National League Players of the Week go. Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker are the American League and National League Players of the Week, Jeff. That just has to grind the gears of any Astros fan, and certainly the Astros management has to notice that too. That might not go down as the best decisions in the history of the Astros.
That's pretty funny. And Tucker hit the hell out of that ball last night.
Yeah.
In the fifth inning. The wind grabbed it though, and Adolis was able to catch it at the wall. But he's going to be a free agent. He's about to be facing maybe the same thing Bregman was, but frankly, right now he's a better player than Alex Bregman.
Yes,
and
better hitter.
I bet he's going to score a huge contract. So if you're the Cubs and you like him, do you work on that in season? Do you at least get the groundwork laid so that if he does hit free agency, you can get it done? But that's pretty funny.
Yeah. Look at Joe loves the dumbass decisions by the Astros, and who doesn't? And the reality is, again, especially as it pertains to Tucker, they just knew they weren't going to be able to sign him as a free agent, and they did try. In fairness to them, they did try to sign Bregman. They just didn't try hard enough. But it's poetic justice in some ways, though, that both of these guys go out there and just demonstrate just how good they are. And look, we can all, as Rangers fans, be happy that they're not in the American League West, those two players still.
Right. Yeah. The Rangers just get to see him. Well, Bregman they'll see twice, and Tucker they'll have to worry about again until they face him in the World Series. Maybe
That's it. Possibility.
Yeah.
Absolute possibility. So Netflix is doing an 8-part series, a documentary type series on the Red Sox right now, on the season with the Red Sox, and it's amazing. It's streaming now. You need to check this thing out because the access is unbelievable. And if you're a fan, let's say, of a Hard Knocks, this is a Hard Knocks type thing. Only, man, it goes to a completely different level. In that, like, it's one thing to have, coaches and players and everybody playing grab ass and lots of fun that you see at training camp and that type of thing. And then, there's always the heart-rending moments on Hard Knocks when the guys, have to bring their playbook to the office and the coach cuts them. Man, they had a segment with Jaron Duran. Yeah. Jaron Duran, who a couple of years ago attempted suicide.
Yeah.
And man, and he said, he's released a statement saying, I came to trust the producers for, Netflix, and I thought this was a good time for me to tell it so I could get this out there and try to help other people. And then his parents came out with a statement yesterday. They didn't know anything about it either, and they were like, thank God he's still here. And it's, again, we've seen it a lot in sports lately, and it's a good thing. They're human, and so they deal with mental health issues just like everybody else does. And thankfully, Duran is headed in the right direction in that regard now. But man, to have overcome that and then to have shared that and now to maybe be able to help so many people overcome sort of their feelings that might, it might mirror what he was feeling at the time. It's awesome. It's really good television.
And the Rangers have some history with that, with Drew Robinson, who attempted suicide and shot himself through the eye, and it didn't kill him. And he has since he even attempted to come back, but now he's a motivational speaker and talks about his experience. And you think these guys have it made, and this guy was a second-round pick, reached the major leagues with the Rangers, didn't have a lot of success, took criticism hard, and it just, when you get to that point, and the important thing is you need to know how to get help. If you know you're depressed and that's a thought that's running through your mind, you got to be like, someone out there wants to help me. I've got a lot of great friends. I need to reach out to them. And but it's hard. You get in your own shell, your own world. We know people who've died from suicide, and it's terrible. And
it is.
And they put on a great face publicly, and you don't know the things that they're going through. So it's very, very difficult. Yeah.
So kind of a bummer. And we love you, and we want you to chat with us and hang out with us each and every day. DLLS Rangers podcast. And that's, we know a former Rangers traveling coordinator who you never would have known. You knew Lingus, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You never would have known Chris had these issues from, hanging out with him, from traveling with him, from going out to meals with him. And sadly, he took his own life. So, I think it's one of those sort of invisible things. You just don't even realize people are dealing with something like that. So, kudos to Duran for revealing that in such a wide open public forum, like a Netflix docuseries.
Well, he was the All-Star Game MVP
right here in Arlington.
Yeah. And he's a heck of a player.
Yeah.
So hopefully he recognizes the platform he has. these players have platforms. I mean, Jake Berger is taking advantage of his platform to
good for him.
Promote, help for families dealing with Down syndrome. And this is an opportunity for Duran to take that step if he wants to. And, I bet he'll be surprised how many people come up to him and say, "Hey, I heard your story. Thanks for sharing it.
You really helped me." Yeah. You helped me get out of my funk or whatever it is. So anyway, that's it for this show. We appreciate you hanging with us as always. And we're going to, the Rangers play again tonight, weather permitting. And we believe the weather will permit because it's going to be warmer, 10% warmer than it was last night at first pitch. So that's not much. It's 35 degrees. I'm glad I don't have to play. Hell, I'm glad I don't have to cover it. But we'll talk about it tomorrow right here on the DLLS Rangers podcast.